Thank you all for tuning in. This is As Deep as It Gets, and I'm your host, DPasz. Go deep! What's up, everybody? Dean here. Welcome back to As Deep as It Gets. Happy to have you guys listening in today. So, some things I want to address first before we hop on into it. Quick shout out to everybody who back home who ran for the local office. You showed up for the town. That's a big sign of leadership, and I'm proud of y'all. Seems like the whole election went off without a hitch. So I know we got some really good folks in there who really care, and I'm proud of my little town. So I just wanted to say that first and foremost. Next, how about we just do a quick, a fast rewind and a little bit for anyone new listening in. This podcast is something I've always wanted to do. And funny enough, we're sort of going to revisit that right now. I did a little deep dive into the archive here recently into my notes folder, and I found some interesting stuff, and maybe we'll keep blasting back and doing these little deep dives into the archive every time I do one. But I found a little note called First Podcast, and this was on June 8th, 2016, long before I started this podcast. It says, I find it rare that I actually get to do this. Just me, the screen, and my thoughts. So much editing to be done. I think I should go podcast style. Hey there, and thank you for tuning in to the MFTMT podcast. I don't even know what that is yet. This is our very first episode, so we have very little sponsors, but we'd like to thank those very little sponsors we have. Sponsor. And then I have a little second, I planned out the script. If this is your first time listening, which obviously it is considering this is our first podcast, well, unless of course you're a fucking weirdo like me who re-listens to podcasts previously heard when showing a friend, good podcasts are worth the listen. The My Friends Told Me podcast is a podcast about the various crazy shit that my friends have told me to do and that I've told them to do. Each week we read tweets we like and talk to you, our fans, about the crazy shit your friends told you to do or that you told a friend to do. Occasionally, we will fly one of you crazy bastards to do a podcast with us. So this was my first idea for the podcast. And it came to me apparently June 8th, 2016. And I didn't act on it until 9 years later. And that's just trying to show you can achieve your dreams. Some idea that you start today, you might get to in 9 or 10 years. And you might really love it. Finding that in my notes really inspired me, and I took a step back and I was like, I'm really doing it. If you go back and watch the early podcast, you'll meet a kid named Jayden. And during that summer, Patrick had passed, but Jayden really, I was very sad, and Jayden provided me with some new purpose and for me to get this whole thing going. And he's been doing well living at his grandfather's now. And the last we talked, he was about 20 pounds down. And I just want him to know that I'm proud of him. And it's important to keep going and keep chasing your dreams. To never give up. I'm happy to have all of my listeners here on a Wednesday evening. Should be about afternoon when you guys get this. I'm pretty sure Mason, my buddy, is coming up again tomorrow. And we plan to do nothing of the sort like we did last time we hung out. And I really hope that maybe he'll hop on here and we can make something special. So I know this podcast is a little bit late. I wasn't very prompt with releasing it because honestly, there's been a lot of things going on in my life. And, real life just has been real life in a little bit. I had a couple interviews fall through, and I'm not going to lie, that whole thing sort of discouraged me a bit more than I expected, but that's okay. We've rescheduled. It seems like it's still gonna go. But you start to wonder, when things like that happen, am I slipping a little bit? What do? I had plans, and sometimes when I get out of my routine, I tend to get in a funk. And it wasn't that I really caught a funk per se. I was still thinking of the next podcast and really what direction I wanted to go with it. And I was thinking of some new segments to keep things fresh. And then while I was trying to get this put out last Friday, this podcast where you guys have right now, my mom and grandma came up for the weekend, and it sort of surprised me mid-record. And that pod was low-key a little bit trash anyways. I feel like this one is trending in a much better direction than what I had. But me and Graham ended up hanging on the couch on Sunday, watched the Steelers get worked, and honestly, that's sort of just what I needed, was a little bit of time with her. She's truly a gem. She takes care of me in the best way, and she's an amazing grandmother, to say the least. She's my hero. She's my hero. And it was great to get to spend some time with her, even though the Steelers got whomped. I tried to get Graham on the podcast while she was up here, since they screwed me up a little bit, and she kept smiling real big and saying, no, not this weekend. NFL these past few years have sort of been how me and my grandma has been bonding, and she has the biggest crush on Patrick Mahomes, despite supposedly being a Steelers fan first. She worked for Wheeling Pittsburgh Steel all those years, and I'm sure if I get her on here, she'll talk about those years there. But I think right now her favorite teams are the Chiefs, the Steelers, and the Cowboys, and I think they're in that order, but she might tell you different. Yeah, old Graham, June's a real gem, you know. We had a blast. We really did. And every time Patrick Mahomes came on a State Farm commercial, she just kept asking me, like, how much do you think he makes for those commercials, team? Isn't he the greatest? And I was like, geez, Graham, calm down. He's married. Jeez. And this week gave me a lot of perspective. Perspective is important. It's okay to pause every once in a while, especially if you're trying to force things. It's not a sprint or a race or a competition. It's a marathon of consistency. And, you know, I take that attitude into many things in my life, working out, just your golf game, anything. It's about getting a little bit better every day. As Cope would say, 1% better every day. It's committing to, it's not easy to be great. It's not easy to be good. But the least you can do is, if you show up every day, you're going to get a little bit better. Whether it's 1%, 0.5%, just show up. Improvement, steady rise. No, just try not to let yourself down. And this week gave me a lot of perspective after that slip up last couple Saturdays ago with Mason. I sort of promised myself I was going to rebuild in the right way, and honestly, I feel like I have. I've been outside almost every single day shooting hoops or riding my bike, clear my head, and still just on that steady journey trying to become my best self. Quiet progress, but still on track, checking boxes. That's what it's all about. Scotty built me this little bullet journaling system, and it's your old school pen and paper style. It's pretty colorful, but it's got tasks, and it shows me where I'm failing and documenting, and it's just been sort of interesting, just in general, data plotting my life, I guess, because I'm seeing where I'm failing myself and where I'm not. It's all been good though. I'm pretty happy. I'm just trying to stay disciplined and do the right things, and the charts, just doing the chart every night sort of teaches a little bit of discipline in itself. So it's a cool little thing. And speaking of discipline, let's talk about the whole commentary section of my life. There's this one guy, and he's pretty disciplined. He's done a lot of good work in his life, and he's a great guy. But there's always that one person, someone who's dear to you. This guy grew up right down the road, and he loves to remind me I might not be reaching my full potential. It's his favorite thing to do. Maybe I'm not doing a good enough job. Buddy will call me like, Dean, what the hell is wrong with you? All you do is talk. You're all talk. And then when I finally take some action or start doing something towards the podcast, well, it's not good enough. Or he could make better reels with better music. Or apparently to him, I'm half-assing this. I mean, and there might be some truth to that. I'm not going to completely discount what he's saying because maybe he's trying to motivate me. But I also know that I'm in the very beginning stages and still learning things. And I'm trying to get better. And I like to think that I have from that very first solo I did. I like to think that I have grown a little bit and I have, developed my skills somewhat and learned the editing tools since Jayden's left and learned how to line the things up. And, I still don't know it all. Sure. I tried to read 2 or 3 podcast books before I even started this. And I think I might have, I know I definitely did some things right, and I'm sure I did some things wrong. But I'm not going to go relaunch just because I screwed some things up. I just have to get better and go from here. This is a podcast. I might be all talk. Talking is literally the point. It's to entertain on commutes, maybe inspire a bit, network, help others. It's a platform for growth and good, and at least that's what I'm trying to use it for. The truth is, this stuff, it really does take some work, some planning, editing, writing, lining up guests. Especially these solos, like I try to be authentic and true, but I don't want to just be on here just thinking about what I'm going to say. Like I have a little bit of an agenda when I do these, and I also go off on little riffs, but my favorite are to do the interviews, but every time I try, it seems like someone it's normal to get nervous or not want to do it or put yourself out there. I get that. And obviously scheduling complications come up, things like that, but I know there's a couple guys who could have probably already been on here, and the problem is it's not that it's like I want them to get on here. These are guys that I want to be recurring guests, So the first time they get on here, I just sort of want to introduce them and, say what they mean to me and tell them how they've been a great friend to me. Sort of like I did with Nick and Scotty's podcast and, all the others. But some of these guys I really want to get on here are a little bashful, and I'm sure they'll come around. I am. But here's my olive branch to that guy who keeps harassing me. You're invited on. Come on the pod. Let's hash it out. Let's turn this whole criticism you have of me into some conversation and see where we get. You damn well know that people want it. So, that being said, he's inspired me to start a new segment called Hits Deep. And it's essentially things I thought were interesting or hit me right in the chest this week that I thought maybe I could share with you guys, the listeners. And here we go. This will be the first iteration of Hits Deep.
There ain't a thing that you can say that can damage me or hurt me. Cause I lost all my friends before the day I turned 30. I remember crying now when ain't nobody hurt me. Before I got sober in the Tenderloin on Turk Street. Needle spoons and tinfoil, looking out my window. Walking out and shaking in withdrawal from the benzos. Sweating at the ATM while typing in the pin code. Overdrawn balance in my pockets full of linso. My mind starts racing as I'm feeding for my fix, so I text my plug, ask for a front, he sends a quick no. I lost the trust of all my friends and all my kinfolk. Walked to the pawn shop shop, sell my phone, they give me tenfold. Head to the block to cop the poison that I think I need. Scars up on my arms that I hide underneath my dirty sleeves. 13-year-old corner boys who skipping school, serving fiends, stare at me with soulless eyes, cuss right through me surgically. If you told me one day I'd be sober and a father, I'd have thought that you were lying like the dope lay in the water. For I cooked it in the spoon like ribeye steak fresh out the slaughter. And that's the reason I believe in God for. There ain't a thing that you can say that can damage me or hurt me. Cause I lost half my friends before the day I turned 30.
All right. I know recovery has been a consistent theme on this podcast, and I think this song is a banger, and it definitely hit me deep the first time I heard it. It's called Turk Street by Benjamin Lerner. You know, if you're struggling with something or, I just know that, this podcast is about me, dealing with some shit and recovering from some things myself. And I know some of my listeners and people I've had on have dealt with a lot of the same things. So this one just really hit me deep when I heard it, and I wanted to share it with y'all. We'll get to the next one. It's a little bit of a meaning of life clip. Just find the stuff I saved here.
Another thing Camus says is that the meaning of life is literally whatever is keeping you from killing yourself.
Yes.
And I think that's more or less true.
So that one was a little morbid, I know, but it also just hit me deep right in my thoughts. Like, that's sort of true, and it actually hurt a little. It was so real. Sorry for the little bit morbidness of it, but I'm sharing with you guys, what stuff that hit me this week. So, and this next one I just thought was a little bit funny.
There are really niggas that breathe oxygen and are to be considered to be in possession of functioning brains that will tell you, make eye contact with you, and with sincerity and sternness in their voice, tell you that Tim Duncan is better than Kobe Bryant. And what's hilarious about that is you can actually find video footage. There is actually almost a 2-minute long video of Kobe Bryant simply dunking on Tim Duncan. No other shots, no jump shots, no threes, no turnarounds, no layups, just dunks. Almost 2 minutes worth of NBA footage with him just simply dunking on Tim Duncan. If you just put it to scoring on Tim Duncan, you could literally make a feature theater-worthy film. Niggas could make a 93-minute film on Kobe Bryant scoring on Tim Duncan. And it's just like, wow. Kobe is the only all-time great that people have to look at his lowlights and acknowledge his lowlights, because if they start to acknowledge what he did in the league, then they just like, oh yeah, okay. He's one of the greatest to ever touch a ball. One of the GOATs.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that wholeheartedly. So that was our Hits Deep section. A couple little videos and stuff I thought I wanted you guys to see, and just something for you guys to react to and see what you guys think. Leave in the comments. So for every hater like my best friend, there's another person out there who I'm just kidding, Cole. But I know you're my biggest fan. I'm playing. But what you said might have been what I needed to hear, and there might have been some truth there. So thank you. I could be doing a better job. But for every hater, like someone close, there's someone out there who quietly shows up for me. And other times, it's not so quietly. I didn't expect to get this, but someone sent me a message and said this: I really appreciate your friendship through it, though. Your optimism and ability to create despite hardships has inspired me, truly, me and many others. Whenever I read that, tear came to my eye. It's literally why I do this. For anyone I've ever inspired, just know, thank you so much. Anytime you reach out and tell me, that is what makes me keep going. And that was just what I needed to hear. That day when she said that, it inspired me to make this podcast I'm making for you guys now. It inspired me to do new segments. It inspired me to not give up. Same with Chris Murphy. I don't know if you guys remember his interview. He was on episode 13. He told me he quit drinking after hearing me and Robbie's podcast. He said he put down the booze because it inspired him to do that. And then there's also this past week. This all happened in the past, month. And just this past week, I got this message. And then also the same day I got that message, a family member reached out who I hadn't heard from in a while, who meant a lot to me coming up as a young man, my cousin Zach. And when he called, I won't lie, it brought another tear to my eye. It was the first time I had heard from his dad when Patrick had passed away, and gave my Uncle Donnie a big hug. But I really missed that whole side of the family, and I hope they're all doing well, and I hope to see him this holiday. But each of these incidents all reminded me that motivation doesn't always come from the spots you expect it. The moments like that I had last week, that's why I keep showing up and doing this, and it's what's taught me and helped me believe in myself. And I truly hope to keep developing and getting better at putting out these podcasts and doing them in a timely manner for you guys. And I really hope you're enjoying them, because I'm sort of putting my whole heart into all this. And thank you for all the support, everyone who's ever reached out. I can't wait to have more people on. I know I have people in the works. We've talked through messages. It's all really exciting. And sometimes it just feels, I feel pressure. I put a lot of pressure on myself, and sometimes I don't feel like I'm meeting my own expectations. And I just want to keep getting better. And, this podcast isn't the only project I'm working on. I jumped into this new, this top 100 memories thing. This is another project I've been working on. It's the top 100 memories from high school. And lucky enough for me, I found a digital version. I think the actual version was lost in the wind, and Patrick had actually found it and then sent it to me in 2021. It's a picture book idea with like stories that sort of shaped my childhood, like a collection, like nostalgia with a picture to sort of put you in the scene. And tonight I'm going to preview one. It's called the Fred Kerns Incident. And I'm sorry, this was a very visual episode, so I'm sorry for any of you listening just listening, driving or something. This was a very visual episode, so if you want, check it out again on YouTube. But tonight I'm previewing one, and it's called the Fred Kerns Incident. And here we go. There's a small chance, if you're listening to this, you may have been here for this. The names are changed for privacy reasons. You can use your imagination. Junior year, fall, upperclassmen football campout party in somebody's field. 20 kids deep around a bonfire that's throwing sparks into the October sky. Marion's silver blazer, parked close enough that the bass from a milli is rattling through everyone's ribcage. A milli, a milli, a milli, I'm a motherfucking monster. Case after case of cheap beer. The kind of night where nobody's thinking about tomorrow, because tomorrow doesn't exist yet. Tad's there, and he's relaxed, because his dad Fred is home, probably asleep. Definitely not army crawling through the woods dressed like he's about to extract hostages. But Fred Kerns isn't home. Fred Kerns is a 50-year-old with blonde hair, and he's dressed head to toe in black tactical gear. Low crawling through the tree line like he's Charlie Sheen in Navy SEALs. Nobody knows he's there. Nobody's looking. Why would they? They're in a field. They're drinking. Lil Wayne is telling them they're monsters. Bobby Hendrickson waddles away from the fire. Bobby's short, chunky, Got Jerry curls that catch the firelight as he heads towards the woods to piss. He's drunk enough that aiming isn't really a priority. He just needs to point away from the fire, let physics do the work. He unzips. He starts pissing, and that's when he sees it. A 50-year-old man in full tactical cosplay, army crawling 6 feet away, close enough that Bobby's stream is landing dangerously close to Fred Kerns' elbow. Bobby freezes midstream, which is physiologically difficult, but fear makes all things possible. Fred rises from the ground like a blonde suburban Terminator. All right, party's over. The music doesn't stop. A milli keeps pounding from the silver blazer. 20 kids turn in slow motion towards the woods where Bobby Hendrickson is still trying to stuff himself back into his pants, and Fred Kerns is brushing leaves off his tactical blacks. Tad's face does something that will live in everyone's memory forever. A mix of horror, resignation, and the specific exhaustion of knowing your dad just army crawled through the woods to bust a party. Nobody runs. That's important. Fred earned something by committing to the bit. You don't army crawl through the woods at 50 in tactical blacks unless you actually give a shit. So you stay. You take the talking to in that instance. Fred lectures about responsibility and choices and consequences, and 20 drunk teenagers nod like they're absorbing wisdom, when really, they're just replaying Bobby almost pissing on him over and over in their heads. Tad gets grounded. Everyone else gets released with a warning, and the understanding that Fred Kerns is always watching, always in black, always crawling. The legend is instant. By Monday, the whole school knows Bobby Hendrickson almost pissed on Tad's dad. Do I have you guys' attention yet? So I'm keeping the unedited version with the actual names for the projects I'm working on and some of the things I'm trying out. Like I said, you can use your imagination for now, but that's the plan. I want to do this for a lot of memories, and if you want more of these, tell me. Drop a comment, DM me. Your favorite Shadyside story you want immortalized. We'll put it in the book if it makes the cut. With that little sneak preview into something I'm working on, how about we shift to the word of the day? And the word of the day today is perseverance. Perseverance is something I've needed to even do this podcast. As we started it, I told you June 8th, 2016, I wrote the idea for my first podcast. It looks in my notes, and I started from as far back as I could go. And it took a lot of perseverance to get here, and I intend to keep going. So here's the verses we've selected. James 1:12. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life. Romans 5:3 and 4. We glory in our sufferings, because suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character, and character, hope. Galatians 6:9. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Keep showing up. Keep doing the quiet work. Keep keeping your promises. Keep trying to persevere. That's all you can do. That's what I'm trying to do. So for our next little talk, if you've ever listened and thought, yeah, Dino, keep on rolling, here's your chance to sort of help fuel my fire. I'm at this juncture now where all the books are telling me if I build a small community following, I need to establish that and try to give back to the community, come up with a share plan, memberships. I don't know if that's really possible, but I would really like to just see how many people I have out there listening and willing to support me. Obviously, once I get some paid ad, all these services will be free. It does cost some money and upkeep for hosting the podcast up and running. And currently, it's not that I'm trying to make money, but it would be nice if I had like some type of, what if there's some really rich fan out there who come across my reels and wants to donate a little money to the podcast and my cause. It would be nice that person had an avenue to do that. So while I'm not actually seeking funding from you guys, I am implementing some ways that if for some reason you wanted to give funding or you did want to subscribe to get more content, you could do that. Obviously, the the podcast will always be free on YouTube as I make them, and they'll always be free on Apple Podcasts. Just some extra stuff for some of you guys who may be interested in stuff like that, like maybe some behind the scenes and some hangouts and some deep work and things like that, where we could maybe, me, you, and Scotty could have a little session, whether it be, songwriting or whatever. See what we do whenever we try to make the music and things we're touching on. Just get you a little more involved. That's where I'm at in this whole process. And I really, like I said, I think I'm going to look into things like Patreon and Skool and try to promote those. And I think they're free to like just follow me and join on without paying anything. So even that would help out. And then I think I can produce, if there's like more things I want to show you guys, maybe more of those little scenes I'm creating, memories from high school or whatever it may be. It'll give me an avenue to do that in sort of a more social location for me to interact with you guys. If this pod ever hits you in the heart, I'd love for you to be a part of the team that keeps it alive. So I just know, just want you guys to know how much I appreciate you guys. And it's been great. 15 episodes in. I can't control who's rooting for me, but I can control who I become in the process. I appreciate to the ones who have been challenging me. Thank you for the little edge that you give me. To the ones who have been encouraging me and telling me how I've inspired them, thank you for the lift up. To my mother and grandmother, thanks for the weekend here and doing all that you did for me and all those meals and, just the little things. It was a blast spending time with you. To Chris, proud of you, brother. Wondering if you're still keeping up without the drinking. My cousin Dak, thank you, Zach. That call meant way more than you even know. And, to that guy who lived right on down the street from me for all those years, the invite stands. Come talk your talk. I've got a mic for you anytime you're in town. So the next time, maybe we'll have some more top 100 memories, some more hits deep, and, maybe I can even get June on here if I try hard enough. Who knows? If any of this hits you guys today, just please share it, do whatever, send it to someone, show someone a clip. I appreciate all your support. We're trying to build something here the best we can. This is as deep as it gets, and we will see you Wednesday.